You're watching the Raider D podcast. Today we're going to be talking about Russell Wilson and all of the crazy rumors that are going around town about Russell Wilson coming to the Las Vegas Raiders. All right, Raider Nation, we're going to jump right into this. Is Russell Wilson coming to the Las Vegas Raiders? Does this make sense for the Las Vegas Raiders? I'm going to give you my opinion of it, but before I do that, I want you to drop down in the comments and I want you to let me know what you think. Would you like to see Russell Wilson with the Raiders? Do you think he would be a good fit? And let me know, do you think he would come to the Raiders to be a backup to AOC or potentially a Jaden Daniels if we move up in the draft and get Jaden Daniels here? Or is he only going to come here if he wants to be the starter? Drop down those comments and let me know. Before we move on with this, though, I do want to just mention today's sponsor of the video, and that is a fantastic company called Dean Construction. That's right, DIIN Construction. Check them out at deanconstruction.com. If you live in California, Utah, or Colorado, they are a fantastic roofing company. Whether you have a slate roof, a shingle roof, or a metal roof, they can help you out today. They have partners in Colorado and California, and they are based locally in Salt Lake City, Utah. Go ahead and request an estimate today for all of your roofing needs. Big shout out to Dean Construction. Thank you for being a sponsor of the show. Now, let's jump into Russell Wilson. Is Russell Wilson going to come to the Raiders? Should we have Russell Wilson come to the Raiders? Here's a couple things that just come off the top of my head that I'm gonna go over today. Number one, he is currently with the Denver Broncos, which is a rival of the Raiders. Now, typically, you don't see rival teams making trades with themselves. It's not a big thing that ever really happens, and you don't really see the Raiders going to, say, the Chiefs or going to the Broncos or the Chargers and saying, hey, let me give you some draft capital. That way you can go get, a really cheap rookie that's going to be fantastic, especially if it's a first rounder. If they were wanting like our first round 13th pick, absolutely not. But even if it was a second or a third rounder, honestly, I don't believe that Russell Wilson is going to garner that kind of draft capital in a trade. Maybe you trade a Hunter Renfrow for him and maybe throw in a fourth round pick or something like that. But even then, you're trading inside a rivalry. Now let's take a look. Russell Wilson had a pretty decent year. No, it wasn't a Pro Bowl caliber year. Certainly, he's not as elusive as he was 7 or 8 years ago, but he did have a decent year. I believe he finished with 28 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. Not bad. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. I'm just going off of memory here. So let me just say this. If I'm the Denver Broncos and I don't want him, right, I'm going to try and trade him. But in order to trade him, because he has a really big contract, you're going to eat a ton of cap. And that means also that whoever you're going to trade him to is also going to end up paying a whole bunch of money for an aging quarterback who is known as being very elusive and mobile, who's not very elusive and mobile anymore. So that's why I say, number one, stop the cap. I don't believe that Russell Wilson is going to be traded by the Raiders or by Denver to the Raiders, and the Raiders give up draft capital and players, et cetera, and eat a bunch of money in order to help out Denver get out from underneath this contract that they're currently stuck with. That doesn't play well, and Tom Telesco is our general manager. He's very seasoned. You didn't see him going out making crazy trades like that. So that's number one why I say a trade for Russell Wilson is cap, and we're going to stop the cap right here because we ain't buying it. No, sir. Now, number two, there is the possibility that they just simply cut Russell Wilson and another team can pick him up and they just pay the base salary of $2 million a year for Russell Wilson, which means then Denver has to cover the rest of his salary. Well, again, this doesn't make a lot of sense either. I don't see why the Broncos would want to do that. Now, if they do that, if they're dumb enough to do that, then I say the Raiders go and snatch up Russell Wilson for $2 million a year. But definitely don't give up any of our trade our definitely don't give up any of our draft capital for an aging quarterback that's no longer elusive or mobile like he used to be. But he can still throw the ball, and he can still play at a very high level. And he is definitely a lot more mobile than Aiden O'Connell, plus him being a veteran. Now, I do love what Aiden O'Connell said in an interview that's come out, where he said he absolutely believes it is correct of the organization to bring in competition, and it is his job to prove that he deserves it still. Like, he's not feeling entitled like, I started, 10 games and now all of a sudden I have to be the starting quarterback. No, he realizes he still has to earn that position, and that's what I love about Aiden O'Connell. He has a fantastic character trait about him. So if Denver were to just go ahead and cut Russell Wilson, we pick him up for $2 million a year. Doesn't really cost us much, doesn't really hurt us. It really just hurts Denver because they're having to pick up the tab for most of his salary. I'm okay with that move. Now, here comes the issue with Russell Wilson. Does Russell Wilson want to come to the Raiders? Well, we know back in 2020 or 21, he did say that he would love to get traded to the Raiders. He would like to play for the Raiders. So he has an affinity for that. Plus, he's married to Sierra. Sierra could, get a gig at one of the hotels or something, and they get paid a bunch of money for a residency at a hotel or a casino there in Vegas. So yeah, he would like that. His wife would like that. I think he'd make the perfect character for the city Las Vegas. I don't know if he would make the perfect character as the face of the franchise for an organization like the Raiders. And Antonio Pierce said in his interview yesterday with Tom Telesco at the press conference that some players are not meant to be here at the Raiders organization, as well as some coaches, right? It's a cultural thing. You have to kind of live up to the Raiders mystique, that bad boy, right? Russell Wilson is the complete opposite of that. He's a dork. He's a nerd. And I'm not saying anything bad about him. That's just his character. That's the way he is. But he doesn't really have that killer instinct that we're really looking for to get in the quarterback position. Now, look, I'm not a Derek Carr hater, but Derek Carr didn't really have that killer instinct. He was just too much of a nice guy. Aiden O'Connell, too much of a nice guy. Not sure that he has that killer instinct either. That's really what we want. We want to bring in somebody like Joe Burrow, who just wants to win. Somebody like Tom Brady mentality. Obviously, somebody more mobile than Tom Brady, but has that killer instinct, that Michael Jordan, that Kobe Bryant, just, I'm going to outwork and I'm going to out-hustle each and every other quarterback in the NFL. With that being said, I think we got to find that guy in the draft. And I think there are some guys in the draft. This QB class is very deep. But if we don't get one this year and we ended up with Russell Wilson, okay, cool. But Russell Wilson's not the long-term answer because, again, what made Russell Wilson great was he was a magician on the field like Patrick Mahomes is today. He was super elusive and very mobile, and he could get himself out of trouble, rely on those legs to extend the play, and then throw it down the field very accurately. He doesn't really have that ability anymore. He gets sacked too much, and he's missing passes when he's being pressured and when he's scrambling. Again, he had a better year this year than he did last year, but I'm just worried as he gets older, he's losing that athleticism, and I just don't see the character of that killer instinct to go out there and win that next Super Bowl. So guys, go ahead and drop some comments. Let me know what you think about this, and you know what to do.
Just win, baby.